What is up, guys? Welcome to my review for Arrow Season 7, Episode 4, titled Level 2. So something I've said before is that this season, as of right now, has 3 storylines and 3 things about it that I am very, very interested in. One of them being anything that Oliver Queen is involved in, specifically right now, the prison storyline. The second thing is the new Green Arrow is very intriguing to me. And the third thing are the flash forwards. Those are very interesting as well. And this episode, unlike the previous episode and the episode before that one, delivered on all 3 of those things. They haven't really had all 3 of them in one episode since the first episode of the season. Now, this episode isn't as good as the first episode, but it is still a very good episode because it did feature the 3 things that I really like the most in this season as of right now. So the first thing out of those is Oliver Queen in prison. This episode's prison storyline definitely was a huge deviation from the first 3, where in the first 3 he was in level 1, which is probably why it was so different, but Stanley isn't even in this episode at all. There are no fight scenes, so it is a huge deviation. Nonetheless, it was still a pretty great storyline. Stephen Amell was great in this episode, and I will say that the psychiatrist who was interviewing him this episode was great. One of the better guest star actors in the show ever, really. I don't think he's going to appear very often, probably in just 1, maybe 2 or 3, I meant to say 2, maybe 3 episodes, but not more than that. He is much of a guest star, and a great one at that. And on top of that, I think just based off the episode, the way the next episode looks, he is probably the demon, and it's not a guy, maybe a villain who we've seen before. I think it's probably this psychiatrist. I'll go deeper into that in my trailer breakdown for the next episode. But this storyline, first thing I'll say is that it was very much beat for beat the exact same thing that happened in Capuchon in episode 17, I think, of season 5. The similarities are very, very noticeable if you think about it. They're both about a guy in season 5, Adrian Chase, and in season 7 it is the psychiatrist drugging Oliver and then breaking him down, proving to him that his mission is not based off something concrete, and it's based off something that is a lie. In season 5, it was Adrian proving to Oliver that he didn't have to kill, but he wanted to, and he liked it. And in season 7, it was about the psychiatrist proving to Oliver that Robert Queen putting all his responsibilities on Oliver was not fair to Oliver, and he has to let all of that go. And I think these similarities are very, very clear, and nonetheless, this storyline is very good. In fact, it was maybe the best storyline of the season so far, which is saying a lot. It just sucks that they've already done it before in Capuchon, and they kind of did it better last time in Capuchon because Adrian Chase was there, and the psychiatrist is great, but he is no Adrian Chase. And on top of that, Stephen Amell was great in Capuchon. He was incredible in Capuchon. It might be his best acting ever. While here, he's great, but he's not incredible. It's not his best acting ever. And on top of that, episode 50, the Capuchon had that one scene I wanted to and I liked it, which is maybe my favorite scene in Arrow history. So this episode, even though it had an incredible storyline with Oliver in prison, it just sucks that they've already done it before in Capuchon. Still great though, just not as good as it could have been if it was the first time they did it. So the second thing about this season so far that I like a lot is the new Green Arrow, and we did get a storyline with him in this episode where he, appearing a lot, was not the main focus. It was really Renee and Dinah's conflict about him that was the main focus. Renee thinks that they should trust him, Dinah thinks they shouldn't, and by the end, Dinah does trust him. So first of all, I'm still very interested in this new Green Arrow. I'm still convinced that it is Roy Harper, and I'm hoping it is. We'll have to wait until probably episode 8 to find out who it is, because that episode is titled Unmasked. We do see his eyes for the first time in this episode, and we hear his voice for the first time. I'm pretty sure it is Roy Harper, but the actual storyline of this episode was Green Arrow stopping some arsonists and the conflict between Renee and Dinah, which was handled relatively well. This isn't the best storyline of the episode, but easily not the worst. I'm still very interested in this new Green Arrow, and this storyline was probably the best from Renee and Dinah this season. They weren't really given much to do until this episode, and in this episode, Dinah was given a lot to do, which I'm glad she is. I think she's a pretty great character. In this episode, the storyline with these 3 characters was pretty great. Really, my main focus from the storyline is the new Green Arrow. I'm still very interested to find out who he is. And the third thing that I'm very interested in about this season so far is the Flash forwards, but I will not talk about the flash forwards until the end of this video, or at least it will be the last thing that I talk about, because it is not really connected to the main storylines of this season, so I really want to talk about it at the end of every review. But in this episode, the last storyline to talk about before the flash forwards is the Felicity / Laurel storyline. Now, I did say the Green Arrow / Renee / Dinah storyline was not the worst storyline of the episode, and that is because this one is, which makes sense. It didn't really feature the best characters, at least in my opinion. It was all about Laurel and Felicity interrogating Silencer for them to lead the two characters of Felicity and Laurel to Ricardo Diaz at the end. Again, this is easily the worst storyline of the episode. I didn't feel like it added much to the episode, which is a very, very weird thing to say, because this storyline is probably, or definitely actually, the most impactful storyline of the episode in terms of affecting the main villain of the season. I mean, Oliver Queen, he was trying to get to level 2 to get info on Diaz, but I mean, he didn't really do that in this episode, so that didn't really have much to do with Diaz. The Green Arrow storyline, also nothing to do with Diaz. Flash forwards, obviously nothing to do with Diaz. The Felicity / Laurel storyline had everything to do with Diaz, and yet it felt like it added the least to the episode, despite it being the most impactful towards the main villain, which definitely is a bad sign for this storyline in general. Again, easily the worst part of this episode. That's not saying a lot, because the rest of the episode was really good, but I mean, it is still completely different and way worse than the rest of the episode. It is kind of jarring going from the Oliver Queen storyline, the Green Arrow storyline, and the flash forwards to this storyline. It is jarring with the quality shift. I mean, this storyline is so much worse than those three. I mean, it's not terrible or anything. I still like the interactions between these two characters, and the fact that, I mean, that's really it. I mean, the interactions were pretty good, but it is still so much worse than the other three that it is pretty jarring going from those storylines. It does take some score away from the episode, not much though, because it is definitely not the main focus of this episode. So now we have to talk about the flash forwards of this episode, which, first of all, I want to say the last episode severely lacked flash forwards. Just coming back to the flash forwards in this episode, I realized how much the last episode definitely should have had these flash forwards, because they are some of the most interesting things that Arrow has ever done. This flash forward episode was easily the best one yet. It is only the third episode to feature flash forwards, but it is still so much better than the first two episodes. It wasn't as surprising as the first episode, but all the revelations and everything, all the people that were revealed to still be alive, people who were revealed to still be dead, the status of the world in 20 years in the future, it was all revealed so well, and it's so interesting, it's so intriguing, and I'm so excited to see more of it. So first of all, they get to Star City, go into Smoke Tech. It's revealed to them through Dinah, actually, that the Glades have taken over Star City, and obviously that will be the main story of the flash forwards, them trying to take Star City back from the Glades. One thing I'll say about these revelations is that it's really weird to me, and it doesn't really make sense that William doesn't know about everything that happened to Star City, and maybe Roy as well, unless it happened very recently and he was on the island the entire time, because William, for instance, was away from wherever he lived for maybe a couple weeks going to Lian Yu, but I mean, everything that happened in Star City probably happened in the last 20 years and maybe like 5 years where everything went horribly, and for William to not know all of that was pretty ridiculous. I mean, it would have been news. William definitely would have heard about it, and that is my biggest problem with the flash forwards, but I will say it doesn't really subtract much from the flash forwards, because Dinah was revealed to still be alive. Zoe is actually the next Black Canary, and on top of all this, Felicity has been revealed to be dead. Now, first of all, Dinah still being alive was great. I love the fact that both Black Canary and Arsenal are still alive 20 years in the future. Zoe being the next Black Canary, I thought was pretty greatly set up in this episode. Like, before this episode came out, I was thinking how they could have a future Justice League, or at least future Team Arrow, with all the kids of the characters from Arrow and the Flash, or at least Arrow for this show. And I was thinking Zoe, who's the kid of Wild Dog, could be the next Wild Dog, but then I was thinking she could also be the next Black Canary, and that was set up in this episode in the present day with Dinah giving her the canary necklace. And then in this episode, it's revealed that she has the Black Canary moniker. She is the apprentice of Dinah Drake. Now, I don't know if she has the canary cry. She probably doesn't, but I think that Zoe being the next Black Canary was pretty fitting, and I like that reveal in this episode. And then, like I said, Felicity has been revealed to be dead, which was maybe the most exciting revelation for me in this episode. It was spoiled that somebody has been revealed to be dead in the flash forwards to me, but not the fact that it was Felicity. I did suspect that it was Felicity. I did hope it was Felicity, and it was revealed that it is Felicity. Now, this is probably the closest we will ever get to hearing the words Felicity is dead, or seeing the fact that Felicity is dead in the present day, considering it was a reveal to William. She probably died recently in the flash forwards, which means that she will not die ever in the present day, which is so disappointing. But I mean, I'll take what I can get. Felicity being dead in the flash forwards is pretty awesome to me. If it's revealed that she isn't dead and this entire time was she was like captured or something, or faked her death, I will be so mad at the flash forwards. They should really leave it as it is, and maybe be a little bit more comic accurate, with Team Arrow being just Dinah, Roy, and maybe Oliver can come back. I mean, he was alive in 2046, at least in the timeline that the Legends went to, and this is 2038, so it would make sense that he is still alive. And also, Reverse Flash said he's going to be dead, or he'll die at the age of 86, I'm pretty sure. So Oliver, Dinah, and Roy are still around in this timeline at this time, so I'm very excited for more of the flash forwards in the future, and they were especially good in this episode, and Felicity is finally dead. So in conclusion, this episode had basically everything that I was excited for in this season, from the Oliver Queen storyline, the Green Arrow storyline, and the incredible flash forwards in this episode, but there was still a fourth storyline that brought down the episode just a little bit. So I'll give this episode a 9.6 out of 10. I'll say right now, Arrow Season 7 is on a roll. It might be the best first half of a season ever in the Arrowverse. Hopefully, it can keep up the entire season. But let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.